Good Thursday morning to you all. Hopefully you guys are doing great. We got another Watchmen update. We got to talk about a major trade deal signed, and we're going to actually get into a few of the nuts and bolts there, just so you can kind of see the kind of trade deals that President Trump is negotiating. I think you might just like it. We're going to cover cane sugar in Coke. That's a thing that's coming, apparently. A nuclear deal has been struck. We're going to talk about inflation results here. It just came out yesterday. We're also going to be talking about Fed Chair Powell. Yes, we will. Very exciting stuff. Israel and Syria. We might actually have some good news on that one. Might be a little too early to tell, but seems promising. And we have a tip for you guys from the Watchmen community on how to get truck and car batteries at a huge discount. That and a whole lot more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are your updates that you guys are sending in from all over. If you have something to share, make sure you use the word update somewhere in your comment. That gets it to the right place. We do want to thank our sponsor, Genesis Gold Group. They help people with retirement accounts. So if you got an IRA, 401k, most people do. You can shift some or all of that over into physical metals so that your IRA is filled up with coins that have serial numbers that belong to you. That is possible. If you want to find out more about that, there'll be a link at the end of the video. Also, Genesis Gold is offering a free book. It's a great book on gold and the Bible. Talks about what the Bible says about gold and kind of some of the principles that are found in there that relate to money and fairness and basically timelessness, right? If you want that free book, there'll be a link at the end of the video. All right, U.S. inflation accelerated in June. I know, it's a government number. They're saying 2.7%, which is a highest level since February. Not 2.7% for the month, but since last year, which is a really unfunny joke. I mean, who here saw their expenses go up since last year only 2.7%? I think we all go, everything's gone up a lot more than that. Food prices, our insurance rates, just car prices, everything's gone up. Everything's gone up dramatically. And I've talked a little bit before about how loaded that number is, but they want to keep inflation, the government inflation rate low so that they can not give you much money on increases on Social Security as well as other things. So, all right, Indonesia has signed a major trade deal with the United States. What does that look like? 19% tariff on all Indonesian goods coming to the United States. 0% tariff on all U.S. goods going to Indonesia. That sounds pretty good. But then on top of that, we have something like $30+ billion worth of purchase commitments from Indonesia. Now, I don't know if that's per year or what, but it's a lot of purchases that Indonesia is going to make from the United States, including a whole bunch of Boeing 777s. If President Trump keeps this up, he's going to block out Airbus from all the airlines, because that's the easiest thing for them to buy. Is if they want to get billions and billions of dollars, it's like, yeah, we were going to buy some Airbuses, we'll just buy some 777s from Boeing, which could really put a crimp in Europe's Airbus. All right, that's kind of stuff we're seeing out there. Now let's get on to Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. President Trump has said that he is under investigation now. That hasn't been substantiated by anything, but that's what he said. Now, this is after a whole bunch of media outlets came out independently saying President Trump is about to fire Jerome Powell. Now, that may have been a coordinated effort to force President Trump's hand into basically stating that he won't fire Jerome Powell. We've seen that kind of thing before where the media isn't acting like, hey, let's report facts, but rather they're like, let's try to shape policy by forcing a president to react to us, which is the media becoming the story, which is seemingly what happened here possibly. Anyway, President Trump did come out and say he's not talking about firing Jerome Powell, But then he did say, but Jerome Powell deserves to be fired. And in fact, some of his stuff has been so downright criminal that he is under investigation. So we'll see what comes of that. All right, 23 blue states sue the Trump administration. Big surprise. But also Kentucky and Pennsylvania, which have Democratic governors. But they're suing President Trump over the $6.8 billion of education funds that have been withheld. The Trump administration was required to distribute the funds by July 1st, which it's past that. But they were told on June 30th that the money wasn't coming. So, oopsie. They're not happy about that, and they're suing. We'll see what comes of that. All right, President Trump, in a monumental diplomatic coup, negotiated with Coca-Cola to switch from all that corn syrup in their sodas to cane sugar. I don't know how he got into that conversation, but, honestly, that's probably not a bad move. That's probably a pretty stinking good move. I mean, the how many cents that they save by using corn syrup instead of cane sugar, and then you just turn around and go, well, Americans are buying all the Mexican Coke because they want the cane sugar stuff. It's ridiculous why they haven't done that so far. So apparently that's another win for the Trump administration. All right, speaking of wins for the Trump administration, the United States has now signed a civilian use nuclear deal with Bahrain, which most of you probably can't place on a map. But that's okay. That's okay. If we zoom in enough, we'd all be able to guess. I always get Qatar and Bahrain kind of mixed up. But I think, but Bahrain's where we got the Fifth Fleet headquarters. We got a big naval base there, and then the air base is in Qatar, I believe. Anyway, so Bahrain is agreed to only use their nuclear reactors for civilian purposes, and in return, the United States is going to basically go build them for them. So I think we can all see where this is going. If Iran gets to have a civilian nuclear program, everyone else in the Middle East is going to want one too. And Saudi Arabia has already said that they want one. So we may see a stream of contracts coming about here. That was a $17 billion deal. Probably President Trump is going to have probably sign that with like Westinghouse or whatever to go over and build those nuclear power plants for them. And that's going to be a big windfall for the United States. If we just are going around the world building everyone nuclear power plants, that's going to be pretty good stuff. Not to mention, no carbon dioxide. You know what I mean? I mean, hey, we're the most green-friendly country in the world if we're going around replacing all these fossil fuel power plants with nuclear power plants. I mean, it's like the Green New Deal, except we get paid for it instead of having to pay for it. Interesting. Netanyahu is supposed to be on trial, but his trial has been adjourned amid the strikes on Syria. What strikes on Syria? Well, yesterday I did tell you about Israel attacked 2 tanks. They took out 2 tanks, Syrian tanks, that were heading down towards the Druze. Well, Israel's launched major airstrikes now on the Syrian capital of Damascus. The strikes come after Israel threatened to increase attacks if the Syrian government forces were not withdrawn from the south of the country where they've been fighting between the Druze militia and the Al-Qaeda security forces. I mean, I say Al-Qaeda, they go by HTS now. So, yeah, well, definitely make sure we make a note of that. The president of Syria and the HTS government was a bona fide Al-Qaeda operative in Iraq fighting against American troops. But we're not supposed to remember that. Anyway, hours later, after these airstrikes on Damascus, The Syrian government came out and said that there has been a new ceasefire agreed upon between the Syria and the Druze. So the fighting seems to be over for now. So, like I said, we'll see if they abide by it, but it seems promising. All right, Zombie Mom says, lots of flooding in central Virginia. Crazy storms all night last night. It actually sounded like a nonstop rolling thunder was just circling us with extreme downpours for about 6 hours. Yeah, we got hammered with rain here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania just last night too. It's just one storm after the next. Nana's Bible says, from southwest Arizona, there has been a death from bubonic plague. We're not supposed to have those anymore. In the Flagstaff area north of me. It's the first time since 2007. The plague bacteria are not common in my state, but can be found in rats and transmitted by fleas. If you get sick, friends, please go to the doctor. Please, please, please go to the doctor. And when you go to the doctor, make sure that you double check everything. If they're like, oh, it's definitely this, ask a few more questions. They might be right. And if they are, they might get a little annoyed at you for asking some questions. But you might help them save your life, right? If they think it's something and they're treating you for that, and it's actually this over here, sometimes it's the unlikely thing is what you have. And so, I don't know, one of the most hopeful things with medical stuff is a church family. I say that anyone who leads an adult Sunday school class for more than 5 to 10 years basically should get an honorary physician's doctorate because you've been introduced to all of the different things that could be. You should be able to at least diagnose those things because you've heard so many different reports of diagnosis and this and that and prayer reports. Yeah. Anyway. Church family definitely will help you come up with things it could be, and people telling you the stories of how they were misdiagnosed. It makes you have a little bit of skepticism about the medical community these days, which is why one of the reasons why I keep saying to you guys, always get a second opinion. Always get a second opinion, and if possible, get a third opinion too, and then Google it, okay? Or Google it first, whatever. Tony says, my local southern Indiana Walmart last Monday night, after a visit to a nearby library, I was shocked to see how few shoppers there were at this time of day at 9 p.m. The inside of the store was almost deserted and only about a dozen cars were in the parking lot. I also noticed, though not shopping for them, that there were lots of empty spaces in the egg area. Enough for normal demand, but nowhere near fully stocked. Eyes Wide says, Tacoma, Washington State. We received a notice that the 3 counties that are in our postal service area will decrease to a few days a week. That's what we're hearing from other places, right? We're definitely seeing shortages in different cuts of beef and prices keep going up. Unfortunately, the beef crisis is just starting, friends. So you still got a chance to stock up a little bit. Do it as you can, okay? Elena says, coconut oil at Costco is now $17.99. It was just $10.99 back in May here in Wichita, Kansas. That's a $7 increase in just a couple months. Ray says, from Cary, Apex, North Carolina. Due to the recent rain, I had to harvest my potatoes earlier than usual. I decided to replace my empty planters with sweet potato slips that I had seen a week or two ago. I first went to Home Depot to see their vegetable section and saw that they are only stocking vegetable plants that are $9.99. Might as well just go buy some potatoes, right? I went down the road to Lowe's and found the same issue. When those plants are so stinking expensive, it's just cheaper to buy the food. Patriot Preacher says, went to Drug Mart Food Fair in Northeast Ohio to get a couple of tomatoes. They only had 1 tomato. It looked a little sketchy, so I passed on that. No BLTs for me. Yep. If you can swap seeds with your neighbors, that is really the best way to go. Linda says, I bought hamburger from my local store and it was half water. No wonder it was on sale for $3.99 a pound. Indeed, we're seeing that a lot. I pulled a pound of ground beef out of my freezer, and that is from a local butcher. And I threw that thing down into the pan and I browned up my ground beef. You know how much water was in there? I didn't need to strain it, didn't need to drain it because it just wasn't any water in it. These stores are injecting, like purposefully injecting water into that ground beef. And you gotta wonder what's in that water too. Anyway. Linda says, Central Pennsylvania barn animal water has been turning maroon in color after heavy rain. Yet the water in the bowls under a roof is not turning reddish brown. What's up with that? Joy says, I'm in South Texas and watermelons are weird here too. We're getting a bunch of those reports. The last 2 times I bought them, the rinds went soft within a few hours of bringing them home. A lot of water in them and the rinds themselves were odd. The part that's normally white was pink. We didn't eat them, and I will not be buying watermelons anymore. This probably explains why there are not a lot of them in the store, though. They are probably rotting very quickly. Also, we bought ears of corn from Walmart. I have often cooked them with the husks in the microwave. So I did it as normal. The ears started making a hissing, popping sound within 30 seconds of microwaving, and when we pulled them out, we saw half the kernels had turned dark brown, even though they were still basically raw and had an odd smell. They went in the trash as well. Food is too expensive to throw away. If you're not familiar with that method, basically you take a knife and you chop off the back end of it, the stumpy part. Chop that off and still have the husk in there. You just stick it in the microwave it, and then when you pull it out, all the silk comes off of it real easy. It's the easiest way. It's so much easier than husking it and then trying to cook it. Anyway, I'm not insulting your way of doing it. If you have a better way of doing it, cool. If you're happy with it, awesome. Anyway, I learned that method relatively recently. I'm still kind of at awe, like, hey, there's a better way of doing this. Anyway, Northern Nancy says, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Menards here had so many empty shelves that it would be too much to list. Totally shocked me. But the pallet of air conditioners that was put on the aisle was still there. People are just not spending any extra money. Joseph says, ate at the Jefferson's restaurant lunchtime, almost empty. Small town, there are not many restaurant options. Ordered 15 lemon pepper wings, no sides and a glass of tea. How much? How much? Take a guess. $28 plus tip. That's 15 wings, no sides, and a glass of tea. So just 15 wings and a glass of tea. $28. A $35 after lunch, after tip. That's Jefferson's in Somerville, Georgia. Building a hopeful homestead, says Wegmans and Costco in Fredericksburg, Virginia, widening the aisles and reducing the amount of food available. Wegmans tripled its wine department, though, and alcohol and juice department, as well as its snack department, and cut down on the amount and types of real food that they sell. They just want you guys living out of a bottle and a Cheetos bag. Canned food is drastically reduced. Costco restructuring its snack and bakery department and expanding their alcohol and non-food items to take up the space. The aisle spacing is also much larger now. All right, and here's a helpful advice here. Solotap says, needed some new batteries for my diesel truck in central Minnesota. 5 in total. I had gone to my nearest large city in my area, looking for them about 30 miles away. The gel batteries I found at Walmart, Target, Tire Supply, Fleet Farm, Menards, and Home Depot were way underpowered and way overpriced. At minimum, I needed 3 batteries at 1200 CCA cold cranking amps. for them harsh Minnesota winters on nights when I had forgotten to plug in the block heater and needed all the batteries for the auxiliary implements that I have to use when the vehicle does get run. Long story short, I eventually found a scratch and ding place about 50 miles away. Bazo battery. Instead of paying $500 per battery, I only paid $75 with a core or $120 without. The owner said every state has recycling / scratch and ding battery sites, but they're just hard to find because nobody is looking for them. So if you guys are looking for relatively cheap auto or truck batteries, might want to check into that. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining with us. Thank you so much for your reports. If you want to get that free book from Genesis Gold on gold and the Bible, there's a link right there on the screen. Just tap on that, fill out your information, and they'll send the book to you. They'll reach out and talk to you and see if you have any questions about your retirement accounts as well. And then if you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.